Hi, a follow-up to some of the some points that I had previously made, or a couple other ones that I wanted to make or reiterate or just kind of expand upon. So first, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through some notes that I was working on today after work. Went and got an awesome yoga class in, and then I treat myself on Mondays because there's this place where I can go for like a cool food and brew type of deal. So had my little notes out. It was gonna come back one way or another, and just have some additional things to add. So again, yeah. So we're here. So again, it's in the links below, and this is extensive data shows punishing reach of racism for Black boys. So you know, hmm. I'm always kind of like moving and thinking at the same time because I was like, okay, we're gonna just go through my notes and then do some clips. Now I'm like, maybe I should do the clips first. But actually, let's see. Let me find just one of the points. Overall, as I said in the previous video, and I'll say it was a little lengthier than I prefer, and I'm thinking maybe going forward, I'll maybe do my like think piece articles and give you guys some notification. Maybe I'll just do the thinking longer ones like live, and then I'll just shoot shorter things that are maybe like no more than like 10, 20, I would say one like 20, 30 minutes. I mean, it takes me a second. And, I know that, we're kind of in this culture of everything being kind of quick moving and everyone, kind of bobbling around. But this brevity is something I could strive towards, because that's something I think I struggle. I have so much to say, and I kind of have these things that shoot off like really quickly in my head that I want to like get out and talk about. But I think it's a balance that is to come. And now with enhanced capabilities like screen sharing, I mean, they just invented this a week ago, so I'm really new to this and all. Anywho, so one, I guess the big overarching thing that I kept wanting to come back to in this article, which I think will just be something that I'm going to have to just revisit over time. And I think instead of trying to say everything I want to say about this now, I'll keep coming back to this. But again, the overall arching thing about this article that really rubbed me the wrong way was that it's one thing, and I'm not saying this is right, as someone that's okay, it's I guess pro-white, pro-European, pro-Western civilization. I guess in a way I'm kind of like a Gavin McInnes style Proud Boy. I'm a Western chauvinist, and there's that part of me that feels that. But so I had to say that. But what I say is, one thing for them to keep setting the story up that the evil white man, evil white supremacy, evil white racism is oppressing everyone that's not white, not male. That's been the kind of clear, concise message for such a period of time. But yeah, and for a lot of reasons, because I and other Black women can attest to this, that when you try to then lay the problem at our feet, especially in a way like this, it wasn't even like you usually hear the men online, and that's this next one clip I'm going to show that came up. It's an Ann video that she just pulled from someone else, this Black man talking about Black women and their education and their degrees and how problematic they are. These are things that we know that, sadly, but which is starting to come to hopefully to an end, is that Black women aren't telling the truth about how bullied they are in the Black race and Black community oftentimes. So you get it on both ends. You're either just some Section 8 BT 1000 hair-hatted hooligan, overweight, dark skin edition, light skin edition, hoe in the hood, on welfare queen, or you're this overeducated, stuck up, bougie, think you's too good for a brother type Black woman. Like, I was thinking one day I'd like to do a book on like all Tyler Perry movies and stage plays, but actually I might have to. Maybe I would find that just for this. No, that's something separate. If you're familiar with the animated series, The Boondocks, I believe this is season 3, and the episode is called Pause. It is basically this kind of caricature story about Granddad. There's this caricature of Tyler Perry, and Granddad gets cast to be in one of his like kind of gospel, very blacky black Tyler Perry stage plays. And there's a scene where they kind of lay out the premise of every Tyler Perry story. And usually some educated black woman who's married to a good black man then decides to up and leave her for a lighter skinned black woman or some white woman. And she finds, and this is some high powered, usually black lawyer, attorney guy. Actually, the guy who played the husband in the main movie Diary of a Mad Black Woman was that attorney guy from, what was the show with Dylan McDermott on ABC all those years ago? That lawyer show, that black guy. Well, he's in that movie. So basically, she's married to always this upstanding black guy, then leaves her for a light skinned woman or a white woman. And then she like goes back to her, big Aunt Medea, finds Jesus again. And she falls in love with the garbage man who loves Jesus just as much as she does. The end. So it's this damn if you do, damn if you don't thing. And that's one of the big things this article that just annoyed the shit out of me, was because they're not telling the whole story, and they're specifically just telling. It's a setup for New York Times, typical to just get to pull at the heartstrings of the average white normie shit lib reading this. But there's a black woman specifically who understands that side of it, of what's going on, and then knowing what I and other black women see and experience and within our own race, and also from black women too. A lot of the class issues, education levels, educational attainment. I mean, that's a whole discussion that we can have for thousands of years, but I'm already veering a little bit off the track. So primarily, that was one thing that absolutely bugs me about this, because the setup now is gone from the white man, evil white male supremacy that's shading everyone to is that. But it's weird. They're kind of trying to pull back in this by not explicitly saying it, and then when to make up, they're trying to slowly slide in this. Oh, it's the black woman and her degrees, and well, she's making almost as much as this white woman. Maybe she's oppressing the black man too. And it's like, what? I expect this from the average, dumb do male on YouTube or social media to be flapping his gums. It's the welfare of the wick, and the hair weaves. Then it's, all these degrees and jobs the white man gave you, but he won't give us. Because, the white man just walks around with a basket full of jobs. If anyone's familiar with the movie American Beauty, it's the scene at the dinner table shortly after Lester quits his job. And I forgot the wife's name. Whatever. She's harping on him about it. And something, you just lose your job. He's like, I didn't lose my job. It's not like, oops, where did my job go? I quit. Like the way people say that, even just in that phrasing, that kind of passive verb of like losing a job. It's not something like it's not a tangible object like your car keys that you can just like lose, underneath the bleachers at a football game or something. So we just took all these jobs. The white man was giving them out like by the dozens, throwing them from like helicopters, and we just elbowed him out the way and just stole all these jobs falling from the sky. So, while I'm here and to keep some continuity about things, let me just play this clip. This is on Annex's channel. The original title here is Black Women in Education Equal Nobody Cares. So it's only about maybe 2 minutes, and then she slices in another clip that I'm just going to cut off from here. So let's just listen, and then we can discuss.
To my single independent sisters, newsflash: brothers don't care about your degrees. Brothers don't care how much money you make. The little letters that go behind your name means nada. You understand what I'm saying? Because it doesn't matter all the education that you have if all you do is use it to berate and belittle and judge those who you don't perceive on your level. But guess what? Brothers don't care about that. Nobody wants you. I know it's harsh and it hurts and it stings like hell. But guess what? Because the man lets you get a little job, you make your little 30, 40K a year, got your little master's degree, that don't mean nothing to us. You know what I'm saying? Degrees and education don't make the woman. And you guys have lost sight of that. Okay, I'm all for getting your education better in yourselves. But if you're not bettering your communities, if you're not trickling down to your kids, and you have no man to show for it, what good is it? Okay, what good is an education if all the end of the day, look, sisters, I know it hurts like hell, but I'm telling you, brothers don't care. The only thing you got to talk about is your degree and how much education you have. That's it. You don't have much to talk about, and nobody wants you. You know what I'm saying? So I know it sounds bad. I'm giving y'all a heads up. Get off y'all high horses. You understand? A dude's gonna mess with a hood rat with common sense, as opposed to with a woman with all the education in the world. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just saying.
I watched the whole part earlier and I was kind of coming and going and just in my day to day, so I missed that. So I think that's my second time really hearing the end part of that. Oh, okay. How about this? We're gonna just walk back through this. That was 2 minutes, perfect. So now, just haven't heard this on the first go round. And then relating this back to the New York Times article, it's just these poor little black boys, and they got no jobs, and they can't transition to anything. And then then we're gonna here I'm moving through. They're gonna play this really slick again. It doesn't matter if the fathers are at home or not. Again, that's another pressing point about this. And this might be a piece that we have to kind of pull apart over. I mean, I need to do other things, other content I want to make. But some of these things I'm finding now, I'm like, man, this has got to be a aging process, if you will. This is like a bottle of scotch, or a bottle of a vintage from Napa or something. And I'm gonna put this in the wine cellar, bring this out in a little bit. Anyway, where did it go? Disparities are wider, down to the top. So here we go. Now, these two paragraphs again are just built in setting up this little narrative. Now, compared to this little arrogant little prick that we just watched before a minute ago, he's been hyper stereotyped in this negative way. Do you know all that negative just coming off of him? I didn't see, anybody stereotyping him. He's sitting in his living room or wherever the hell he's sitting with his sideways pro model cap on, flapping his gums, and just trying to take down some black woman with a degree down a notch. And we'll go back. Did you hear? Well, we'll just date an uneducated hood rat with common sense instead of you with all your degrees. Well, hold up. That I thought that was half of this narrative that we were. It's not one thing or the other. One of the goals of this channel and talking to black women, talking to other groups, kind of about us and a lot of things that are going on that people aren't aware of, is just pointing out just how duplicitous, how duplicitous most of this discussion is. Darn it. Let's turn it over again. Oh, good. Came back the same way. So let's just read this. So it is not just being black, but being male that has been hyper stereotyped in this negative way, in which you made black men scary, intimidating, with a propensity towards violence. Now, hold up. We could talk about this for an hour. So it's just a stereotype that they make songs and videos and music and art and culture. The biggest contribution to modern pop culture, at least since the 80s to this day, is music and imagery about them shooting each other, shooting other people, shooting non-black people, white people, shooting Eskimos, shooting Martians. And even when they weren't actually participating in it, I have the book in my closet. I have to go get it out, but I've been wanting to do a piece in this one forever. There's this kind of like little those office emails that get passed around. People talk, little emails that thread people around. There's this one is basically this black guy talking about being frustrated. Now it was kind of written for all black people, men and women in corporate America, to kind of like laugh and chuckle about. Y'all pissed off at your job. All of a sudden stay on top of your desk and start singing DMX. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. That song. And then get escorted from, off the premises. Just sit quietly for HR to escort you out. And there's another one like that where it was basically, just referencing the fact a lot of these, nice, good corporate, Negroes, that are all got their degrees, when they're sitting in their car hanging out someplace, they're banging Tupac and whatever type of like hood rap, gangster rap on the side. So it's not even just so you could easily come back. Well, I'm a black guy and I'm not like a rapper and I like. But a lot of y'all listen to his music when on your headphones at work. You listen to it off the clock. I mean, I was thinking about Hootie from Hootie and the Blowfish, and I was a little too young to really understand it, but I do remember kind of consciously, you hear older people making jokes and saying things. I remember older black people being very like laughing and snarking, just mean and vicious towards him. He was this black guy singing this kind of like adult alternative, pre-indie music of that era. So even when they're not producing that culture, these are stereotypes, aka stereotypes, that black men have been happy to participate in. Think of the whole BBC. Actually, I'll just go grab my note because this specifically ties into something I wrote down tonight. So many real on paper negatives about black men. Like this whole article, they can't get no jobs. They make money, they grow up millionaires, they still go to jail, just like some Billy Muchachowski in flyover country making $36,000 a year. But then we have this other side of things of this black male that we constantly hear about. He's got this big black cock. Lord, that's a story for another time. I don't even want to talk about that yet. We will probably have to talk about that story, that mythos for at some point. We will cover that. You just like, share, and subscribe. Let me know you want me to come back to that, because child, we can talk about that. Then we have the magic Negro, all the stories and from young black boys to some white man's relation to some black man, and this kind of coming of age story or something where he's this black man. The Green Mile, even. Like, I've never seen the movie in full. My mom was like obsessed with it. She used to watch it like all the time. But like, just I understood, and as fair as that she is or isn't for me to say, I've understood enough about the film and like the narrative surrounding it, like this magical black man with these kind of, otherworldly powers and what have you. So then he's the sex symbol. He's the cool swag guy. That's one argument that I'd like to maybe talk about in a very alt-right specific video, to really address with some of the more white, across the class spectrum, mostly white middle class ones. I get this impression that since some of them are, in 2018, they're 30 and younger, quite a substantial amount of them. So they grew up in the thick of this. I was thinking as I was driving home, I was like, in the 90s, there was still this more division. It was the beginning of the kind of marrying of the rap culture, hip hop culture to mainstream culture. Later, I heard someone talk about this recently, that the whole EDM, electronic dance music, and a lot of the techno, dub, voiceover, uh, auto tuning, once that really came into picture. So now, if you're a white kid from anywhere, even rural America, I was surprised. Like, I had a friend who lived in a rural area a few years ago, and I was surprised with just how they weren't wiggers in any shape or stretch of imagination. They were just very rap identified, and I was just surprised. I'm like, this is out in the middle. Like, this is a town like about all white, maybe some Native Americans, like maybe 2,000 people, if that. So even for them, like, they haven't really left the culture. They don't have to really go far to interact with, these images. So the image of this black male, he's cool, he raps, or he's just got swag and he's cool. And, we've talked, all of us talk so much about how the white woman's absorbed a lot of these messages and reacted in such a way, how the white male has in some ways too, and it's there. So, but when we just focus in on the thug culture that kind of gave way to just black men being cool, he could fight you, but he's still down. He's real chill. He's a fun loving guy. But initially, early on, the message was he was cool. He was rough. He's from the streets. It's concrete jungle. It was a place, it was edgy for like, white kids to go have a Tribe Called Quest CD or listen to Tupac. I mean, now I think it's more of a Gen X or older millennial thing I run into. Like, some white person is still happy to brag to you, like, oh yeah, I should love Tupac. And it's like, okay, So a lot of these negative, okay, stereotypes and intimidating and scary. Well, he didn't want to be no pussy, weak, little pink dick, nerd square like the white man, that white boy over there. This we've made. You could take me out of this. I haven't done this, and a good majority of us who are not black men in the culture, we've contributed in some ways. Has the black woman and the black mother not in some ways benefited from, the son who gets the record deal and buys her a condo or gets a basketball or football scholarship? And I mean, I guess I'm not trying to stretch thuggish criminality into sports, even though that's a story into itself that's there. But I didn't want to like leave that narrative too far, to stretch that too far. But this we've made black men. So we told them to rap about, to sing, to make movies In the first decade after the civil rights movement, all the social, sexual, cultural, political movements of the 60s, we told them to start to the next decade right after that, start making movies about being pimps. Your Superflies, your slick, cool, black exploitation movies where they're all criminals and shooting each other and, and engaging in some type of criminality, the deep, dark streets of, some urban underbelly, the Pam Grier movies. And so we've made them scary, intimidating, or princely towards violence. It wasn't the music. It wasn't the rap culture. It wasn't them in the 80s and 90s taking this from like the clubs, the inner cities, and then joining up with Hollywood and the music studios to sell this. We've made them scary. Yeah, you can miss me with that. I'm gonna look her up later. I'm gonna go dip on this. I'm like, it's no well heard of a Mammy. She kind of like sounds like something. She could be something just basic bitch, shit live white woman. But I wouldn't be surprised she's some Mammy black. Well, see, the thing is, they sound exactly the same, especially for a lot of the like indignance that some black women get about white women, particularly these liberal circles. They sound just alike when they're like running around trying to race to see who can swallow the black male's ego into a blanket and soothe it to sleep faster with these types of statements. So then that follows. She said this racist stereotype particularly hurts black men economically. Now, the service sector jobs requiring interaction with customers have replaced the manufacturing jobs that previously employed men with less education. So one note that I made immediately just after rereading that was they should have followed white men and not let Jose and them in. And by that, I mean, think about this past election and the Trump voter, as it came to be known in places like the New York Times and all across the modern and mainstream media. When we thought, and we still do now, when we think of the Trump voter, it's a white person, male usually, but also female, high school education, maybe a little bit more schooling, maybe they just have some type of bachelor degree, but they work solidly blue collar, working class, what have you, jobs. They're not educated. And I have such a problem with educated in so many ways too. I have a bachelor's degree. I feel more educated in the world by everything I've learned after, but it was a good setup. But like, I don't like the word educated or not. And I'm not going to like, even shade black men in this discussion in that regard. I have a problem with the term as it applies to everyone in the modern educational system in this country. But that's another topic for another time. So just going back to that. So that was the trope of the Trump voter. This white male, working class, blue collar guy, not a lot of schooling, maybe makes somewhere solidly under 100,000 a year, maybe more like 75,000 and below. And I'm like, what I was thinking is, now when the jobs left, aka, like I said, a job is not some inanimate object that just gets up and like puts itself in the car and leaves. And, I have the book right here in front of me, but I know I'm already going to be pressed for time. And I didn't want this to be another hour and a half either. It's actually almost 1 o'clock and I got to get a little sleep so I can go work out in the morning. It's my new routine, getting ready for the summer. Whoop, whoop. Well, because actually that'll be better served later. Basically, John McWhorter's Winning the Race. I guess I can open. Well, I don't have to open it up. You can look it up. John McWhorter, Winning the Race, which is the book that follows his breakthrough, Losing the Race, where he outlines 3 cults in the black community that kind of keep it down. He's not even really a conservative. He's a linguist, like a Stanford educated linguist who just stumbled into a lot of these conversations about race, about politics, about what black people do and don't do, etc. So these 3 cults: the cult of victimization, like this article, the cult of anti-intellectualism, and the cult of anti-intellectualism, victimology, victimization. Damn it. And it's mostly outlined in his first one, not in the second book. So I have it right here, but it's not in this one. Anyway, so one of the examples he gives in the second book, very early on, is he mentions this, he discusses the city of Indianapolis. And when you look at it spatially, like in a square mile radius, it's not a very big city. So when the jobs left the city center, and this is way before, and I think I mentioned in another video, this is not when the jobs went to Mexico or went to Thailand. This is probably mostly located between the 60s and the 90s, when most of the jobs just moved to like one of the collar communities. It's almost like, the deadmalls.com thing. Like they moved from all the areas, they used to be in the city center, but when the white people left, the jobs moved kind of where they were, and then they moved a little further out and a little further out. And I'm from the upper Midwest, and almost every city has their main city center with a sizable non-white, mostly black population. And then the jobs that aren't in India or Thailand to this day, where they do still exist, most of them are just maybe 20, 30 minutes outside the town. And I'll just add here really quickly, one thing that I'll mention this again, hopefully in the future, they keep talking about the jobs left. Now, and one of the glory stories Black people love to reiterate about the civil rights movement is the Montgomery bus boycott. So in 1950 something, we could all get together. We, like all of us, whatever, could get together and organize a bus boycott. But all these Black men, particularly, and Black women too, because Black women have always worked outside the home as well, and probably were looking for and working some of these jobs too. They couldn't carpool themselves from the inner city centers out to like some of the college communities where these jobs started to move to. Because literally, you see this across. I mean, I'm going to take it most across the country like this, but I'm just giving my own example of someone who's very familiar with most upper Midwestern major cities. Pretty much all of them have these like little jobs and plants. Normal. They're kind of white collar, some blue collary jobs, and this is where a lot of those white Trump voters still work and still live. Now, granted, in the '90s, post NAFTA, and everything that's really started to, kind of be this really more quickly rolling snowball leading to Trump in this era that we find ourselves in now. These jobs and things are still there. So why, the white man, who maybe had a high school diploma, whose granddad probably came over from Germany or Poland or wherever in the early, or father or grandfather, somewhere between 1900 and 1950, well, in 1930 came over, you know, he and then his son, got a working class job like him. But in that time frame, a lot of white men tend to have moved on. Did they all go get master's degrees and making six figures or more? No, because we already see that divide between what was suggested being the Trump voter versus the Hillary voter. The bachelor degree at the minimum, making easily six figures, if not more, mostly living in urban centers and more well-heeled, gentrified areas, or long-standing up-and-coming suburbs, what have you. So this whole racist stereotype is not hurting Black men economically, particularly when as we just discussed, this is something that they fed into and had no problem producing themselves in this culture as such. And then Black men who actively weren't doing that have not made a point, and never have and never will, by the way. Well, now they will, because this article is actually all in all indicative of this too. Now they're trying to find all these other escape hatches. If this didn't define you as Black men, you really should have made sure that you were stepping up and setting yourself aside. I want to talk about this way more in depth. I think this is a key thing, but I'm just going to drop this here. Maybe somebody can comment below about this. When you think about like a lot of like the punk rock of the 60s and 70s, late 60s, mostly the mid late 70s and onwards, a lot of white men didn't find themselves fitting into some of the like more popular white male culture of that time, of like, fast cars, Mustangs, sexing up the girls, rock and roll all night, party every day. That kind of era of very, very pronounced white male sexual aggression and masculinity and rah, rah, rah. But one thing is you start to see over time, the nerd culture, the kind of indie culture started to rise up as white men who maybe didn't fit that mold, and white women too, started setting their own kind of countercultures and scenes. But to this day, even now, so more than ever, it's funny. It's always so fixed. Like the Black woman's always angry, rolling her neck and cussing somebody out. But then you start seeing these images of the poor Black boy. He just like wants to vote Republican, but he can't, or he really isn't like those thugs. But he gets teased for acting white. Yeah, I am an actual product of that. And maybe one day I'll just do some videos where I just talk about my life, you know, mind life and mind conf and all that good stuff. But then when if you're too far over to that, but that's one thing I want to kind of add in too, is like people they find ways they bond with other people and make something else happen. Kind of lost where I was going with that last point. So I should just put that in my back pocket for later. But in closing, there's not a racist stereotype hurting them economically. White men and other people moved on to other jobs. They stayed working class. You still have like the Trump voter more often than not, like, unless they're one of these fantasy kids from this study, they weren't born millionaires and then they fell off, because they already told us that most white men born wealthy tend to stay that way longer. So a lot of these, like, this poor Trump voter, downwardly mobile guy that's, working manufacturing jobs with less education, like they're still working those jobs. They're, you still have like, just even the working class manufacturing jobs that just take some skill. where are all the black men, at least, like, work, fixing cars. Yeah, anyway, so I think I kind of beat that part of that statement in to the ground. But then this follow up would just quickly, they let Jose and them in. When all the marching, trying to sit on the Woolworths counter, all the getting in the white folks' faces that we recall from the civil rights era, there all of a sudden there was also the Chavezes and all these, these other Hispanics and other people agitating to come in and wanted their place in the scheme of things too. And you think about, I think Sailor actually tweeted this. I don't have the Twitter feeds open in this one. That part of the problem is like he made basically said that a lot of the U.S. government set aside jobs that specifically select for minorities and women, particularly, or people of color and women, that we've been able to get and hold on and maintain. And yes, those were set aside. Particularly, you see a fair amount of black women in those circles. I think I was listening to Daily Show, and they like one guy really hit it, and it kind of hurt. Well, it hurt me personally, but it's funny. Like, the standard issue black chick working at the DMV, and we all kind of know what that means. And I think I retweeted, replied to Sailor, like, hey, you can talk about Keisha and them all y'all want to, and we know, for better for worse, some of those black chicks are, because some of them are, they can be a handful. But I think overall, what I hit at the end of that is, why is this a black woman's fault or their problem? A lot of the social affirmative action, outreach, people of color programs have been directed at getting black males to do something. And money, scholarships, outreach, as we'll see in these, like we saw earlier with the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative for black men, I'm going to assume mostly 18 all up to their 50s, into like this clip where we'll see out of Chicago targeting young black boys in high school from cradle to grave. It's funny, they talk about the school to prison pipeline for these black boys, but there's also not also, because there's no such thing as school to prison pipeline. The comparable point is made that there's this whole cottage industry from cradle to grave for these black boys. Whether if some kids here want to write some sat piece article in New York Times about you, they want to like cook you some breakfast and get you to come in and figure out how to get your driver's license back because you owe back child support. They want to come sit with you, teach you breathing skills and how to sit around and toss a tennis ball and rock in a rocking chair at 14 or 16 to keep you from shooting somebody, getting shot. Like, I don't see a school to prison pipeline. I see that's probably where too many of you are headed, if not a grave, because of choices you make. But there's people from your cradle to your grave here, mostly white, and then black mammies who are just more than happy to sit here and shill and shill and shill and shill and swallow you, and then just suggest that it's everyone else's fault. But I think maybe the final iteration is we'll have to do a music section, because there's a song or two I want to play for you guys that I think kind of expresses this, where this story has been shifting for some time. But in closing, there's nothing. This whole idea that they can't do anything because of manufacturing jobs. But it's funny enough, in this piece, they're not proving what they're saying here. So now service sector jobs require interaction with customers. So they're trying to draw this false equivalency here. Requiring interaction with customers is not less than or equal to or greater than equal to having less education. There's people who can interact with people who maybe have a GED or a sixth grade education. As you know, we may have seen previous generations compared to the education system now. And having more education doesn't mean that you're going to be able to interact with people better. If you think about the kind of the very basic definition, particularly in more of these kind of internet circles, the high IQ, high functioning autiste, with like a gajillion point 120 IQ, who can't really interact with anyone because they're autistic or they have Asperger's. So that's a very strange, like, false equivalency they're trying to draw right here. That just bugged me, because I was like, I read it like 3 times when I first read this. I'm like, that doesn't make any damn sense. Anywho, let's see. I think I've been talking for about maybe 20 minutes, if not a little bit longer. This won't be an hour and a half like the other one was. I can promise you that, because it's already 1 o'clock and I need to, like I said, I have to get up and go work out. I'm trying to do it in the morning. It really starts to set your day up a lot easier and a lot better. And I really want to do that. So that's going to keep me more on a straight and narrow. And again, I think I'm going to start pushing more of my think pieces and my kind of like, navel gazing, coffee shop kind of videos with you guys out to like the weekends, maybe more so. But anyway, Let's go back. We're just gonna listen to this again because I just was like, there's that little ending part. Ugh. Let's listen to this again.
To my single.
Oops, we need to mute it. It's probably all that trick data inside that in New York Times graph is making everything slow down and swirl. I just don't want it to be that loud.
Sisters, news flash. Brothers don't care about your degrees. Brothers don't care how much money you make. The little letters that go behind your name means nothing.
Well, apparently, my fellow Dindu, the New York Times certainly cares because they're trying to insinuate that me and the sisters having these is some kind of problem. So I don't know. Maybe you should write to the New York Times and tell them that you guys don't care and they can stop, trying to like swaddle and coddle you. Just a thought.
You understand what I'm saying? Because it doesn't matter all the education that you have if all you do is use it to berate and belittle and judge those who you don't perceive on your level. But guess what?
Okay, this is one of my pet peeves. Reason number 8,420 million pet peeve. This is the way Black people talk. They talk in these weird abstractions where what he's accusing would be better served with an example. It's just this idea that people with degrees just walk around berating people. I know I have an instinctual understanding of what he's trying to insinuate, but without anything concrete, it's not worth my time. But that just bugs me. Like, walk around my degrees, like, putting people down and stuff, man.
Brothers don't care about that. Nobody wants you.
Oh, okay. This is getting weird all of a sudden.
I know it's harsh and it hurts and it stings like hell, but
There's so many things I could say about this brother. We'll not be team petty tonight. You see that viciousness? I'm gonna save this for later because this is a big problem right here. I know it hurts and it stings and it bothers you. Well, me personally, it absolutely doesn't because I could care less with most Hindus, male particularly, and most Black women are starting to edge towards that category for me for a lot of their tomfoolery and foolishness. But you see that, well, we don't want that. Well, see, when Black women are they're only checking for you, and they isolate themselves to you, then yeah, I'm pretty sure they care. And we see in their actions and behaviors overwhelming that they care. But you see that, well, we just don't care. I'm wearing a sideways cap sitting on like some random couch with my cell phone in my face. Now, granted, I was queen of the cell phones in front of the laptop until like a couple days ago. So no judgment here, but still.
But guess what? Because the man lets you get a little job, you make your little 30, 40K a year, got your little master's degree.
Okay. Did you hear that succession? So the man lets you have a job. You didn't study, didn't stay up late, didn't take a test. Now, granted, I can't. This doesn't work for me particularly, but like my fellow white people, and my fellow alt-right, pro-white, Western chauvinists, whatever dissident right white people, we know in this situation about affirmative action, selecting for, minorities, women, people of color. So I'm already hearing that coming from somewhere in the comment section all the way across the hill. I know I'm with you. We already there on that. We there on that. So let's just put that aside. So let us have some degrees. So like, like for instance, I didn't like spend 4 years, particularly a really hard period in my life, which my whole college story is another story unto itself. But like, we didn't stay up and study. We did, take the SAT, the ACT. We didn't, buy books. We didn't work part-time if we had to work, or, take out election loan money. We're not paying back student loans to this day. This white man just walked up and said, here, here's a job. Like, like he's wearing like a hot dog suit, just handing out bananas on like the corner, like, 8th and Broadway or something. I just like name dropping New York intersection. Like, I think that's intersections. I've been in New York City a few times, but like, so like that, yeah, this white man just handing them out, just like, willy nilly. It's raining jobs that white daddy's handing out. And then 30, 40K a year, ... master's degree. Now, yeah, if you really stuck in, I mean, there are some professions that, yeah, you really start out there, but like, it's so weird. It's almost like he's colluding to things. He thinks a master's degree is such a big fancy thing for some black woman to get. But then on top of that, he don't understand like it's 40 grand is so much money to him. Now, granted, I make right there in that ballpark. It's not a lot of money to begin with, and it would be in his little Dendu mind. He thinks that's like some big figures. And so it's funny if I was just sitting here talking out of my ass completely. I mean, I already do enough, but I think I'm a little bit brighter than this Dendu right here. He would at least have said, making 50K a year. I would hope, I wouldn't say anything less than 50 and then try to make this line between having a master's degree and a certain dollar amount. If I said master's degree in this example, I would have like said 50,000 or more. Saying 30 grand a year in a master's degree just seems odd. Like he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, which is surprising. I mean, I'm surprised. And there's already 1,000 other clues he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But that was just one that stuck out.
That don't mean nothing to us. You understand what I'm saying? Degrees and education don't make us a woman. And you guys have lost sight of that. Okay? I'm all for getting your education better in yourselves. But if you're not bettering your communities, if you're not trickling down to your kids, and you have no man so forth, what good is it?
So you hear that? So first, it was not benefiting the community, and this is quite a discussion that comes up way too much amongst us. They want you to. They don't understand that men are supposed to be contributing to their communities. Women, I'm not saying we all should just go out and buy Kate Spade purses and maybe not give to like United Way or something. It's just we supposed to be giving back to the community. That's code word for like, how come you ain't giving us brothers something? So he basically read the New York Times article and he says there he knew they were trying to swallow and coddle his ego. He just gonna be bold with it and tell you, well, them degrees and them jobs, black women, belong to us. Or first it was trickle down to the community or your kids. Well, I don't know the numbers, and I just heard this thrown out by quite a few people from different areas that more education typically on average. Now you see this across races, but with black women in particular, the more degrees, more education at a period of time, the less likely to have children, and then also, or comparably, the less amount of children, in marriage, outside of marriage. I'm not going to get too nitpicky there, that they're willing to have. So all these master degree black women, with our 2 or 3 kids, make sure you're giving money to the community, or your kids. This thirsty, hungry. It's like, it's like the same way we talk about this immigration and all these people want to come from every corner of the world here just to like, suck off of us as Americans. It's like, can you just get off of our titty already? Just be real with it. You want the sisters, we need to just start, reappropriating our funds. They don't belong to us. It belongs to the community. Oh, I mean your kids. And then you ain't got no man. Well, we'll go back to New York Times article. It's pretty obvious why we don't, because they were basically just marrying like another child. You don't have degrees. You don't you're poor. Even when you're born millionaires, apparently, you're less likely to still be wealthy. You don't need fathers in a home, but you need fathers in a certain sense of tract that you live in. Like, this story just starts to make less and less sense, especially listening to him and then reading this back into New York Times article. It's nice because they're both so nonsensical, and they're nonsensical enough when they're trying to obfuscate, and you know exactly what they're getting at. It's your fault that you got these degrees. You should quit your job tomorrow. I should quit my job tomorrow. I'm just not gonna go to work tomorrow. I'm gonna go get me a sideways pro model cap and I don't know, start rapping or Uncle Ruckus on the Bulldogs. Oh my God! I guess when he takes the DNA test, he realizes he is actually black. He doesn't have revitiligo. It's like, what do I do now with myself? I guess I should start rapping or selling crack or rapping about selling crack. Shout out, thumbs up if you like the Boondocks. Like, that just came to me out of nowhere. We should just do a Boondocks video. I just watch clips and laugh maniacally with you guys and show you how delightful of a show that is. But anyway, let's finish listening to Mr. Sideways begging ass Negro video.
Okay, what good is an education if all you go do is punch a clock and work for somebody else? What good is that? You went to school for nothing. Now, unless you're nursing, law, psychology, I understand all that. Okay, but I thought the whole point of going to school was to learn how to work for yourselves.
No. Okay, I've been thinking about no, because I want this channel to be appealing to everyone. But hell, all half of them alt-right channels use the N word like with impunity. And I feel like, if for some reason I feel like I'm censoring myself. I'm using the other videos, and then later I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't use the N word, But then I go to Daily Show or like, Grandpa Lampshade or any like other alt-right like podcast, and it's like nigga, nigga, nigga everywhere. And I'm like, why the hell is it funny? I'm feeling some kind of way about using the N word, but like I can literally just go over to like, insert alt-right podcast, and they're just like N word, N word. It got me saying N word. This is crazy times we live in, lads, huh? That like I'm feeling some kind of way. But I want to be like, nigga, really? 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 I thought you just went to school to work for yourself. New York Times. This is a perfect. I think I'm gonna have to wrap it up here because it's getting a little later, and I prefer. And I really want to do the BAM clip with a little bit more insight. So this is literally, he's the face of this article. They poor and they dumb. They don't understand that most master degrees, typically depending on the market you're in which profession, should command you well more than $30,000 a damn year. That's probably what a master degree costs. I thought the point of going to school is working for yourself. So you go to school, get a master's degree. Didn't really say, he didn't really see, he didn't really specify. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So I can sit here and pick this apart back and forth, and I already have. And you see me get a little petty and a little bit obnoxious because he's just absolutely ridiculous. These are the men that they want me. You want me to quit my job so he can just do what? You want to let him perform open heart surgery on you? I don't want him counting my money at the bank counter. I don't want him readjusting the cantaloupes at the grocery store I shop in. I don't want him doing anything. I want him away from me because he has no cognitive. He doesn't understand what he's even talking about. But yeah, I thought the point for you to be working for yourself. Not everyone. I mean, self-employment. Is consulting. Maybe you are in some kind of trade where you just work independently for yourself. I mean, there's but this is this very elementary, basic level thinking. This equation that he's made in his head makes no sense. Let's just finish this clip. Oh my god.
And not for anybody else. I'm getting off track. At the end of the day, look.
Really? No. Oh, Dendu, you've been off track since you came out the womb.
I know it hurts like hell, but I'm telling you, brothers don't.
Who the fuck are you? Who are you? Like, excuse me? Who are you?
Care. If all thing you got to talk about is your degree and how much education you have, that's it. You don't have much to talk about, and nobody wants you. You know what I'm saying? So I know it sounds bad.
Look at being so freezing.
I'm giving y'all a heads up. Get off y'all high horses. You understand? A dude's gonna mess with a hood rat with common sense, as opposed to with a woman with all the education in the world. You understand what I'm saying?
What does that even mean? Especially after all the videos, all the complaints about hood rats. There's, okay. Gosh darn it. I knew I should have did this so late. But I didn't have a choice. I was working all day. The job I want to be giving up for him, because he needs to be gainfully employed in the working place. Let's see, where is it? Oh. I ain't be up here anymore. No. Y'all still with me here? Oh yeah. I don't ever watch it. I just remember this being a thing.
In case you don't know by now.
Oh, let's watch this real quick.
Hood rats. The hood rat is a virus that is destroying the African American community. Black ghettos continue to exist because hood rats keep them populated. Black on black crime continues to escalate because hood rats are gangbanger factories who lay under various inadequate men and therefore have no idea how to raise one. I despise hood rats. They are the living dead, a waste of space, zombies. And just like zombies, everything they touch also becomes the walking dead. living solely off the efforts and brains of others. Somebody needs to pay all my bills and mine and Gary.
Oh, April Jones, whatever that chick name is.
Niggas ain't shit, she tells her daughter, and never makes a connection between her words and the fact that her 16-year-old little girl just got knocked up by a 32-year-old repeat offender whose hood rat ass mama told him the same thing. She spends 8 straight hours at Buttercup's house getting her weave done, only to have it ripped out the next day in a swap meet rumble with another hood rat who shares the same baby daddy. Her son never had a chance. He never knew his father, so he had to rely on.
You see, it's always a switch up. It's always a switch up. I always wanted to know if this was still here. Basically, a die hood rat die. So we'll just stop here because that's why I want to make the point. So he's basically telling me. So he's saying, oh well, you know, you could have a master's degree, and you know, all this education, but he would stop dating you to go date one of these chicks in these clips, you know, because he said they have common sense. So yeah, they're getting clacked up, but they weave up all over the place or whatever the hell else on the street, just whatever, this whole montage of hood rattiness. So he gonna leave you for one of these chicks because you got a master's degree and you all educated and making them feel bad and shit. So he gonna leave you for a hood rat because she got common sense. I mean, this is just sound logic. Sometimes I just don't. I think there's only 3 seconds left.
So I'm just saying.
Just saying, just talking, just using bits of English language put together in some haphazard way, you know, just to like make really weird asinine points that don't mean anything. Ugh. Anyway, so let's see. Do I have anything else to say in my notes? Nope, that was pretty much it. So I saw that today and I wanted to come back anyhow. And yeah, I think I'll just leave it there because like I said, there's something else that popped into my head. This is a piece that should be celebrated and discussed even further. I'm just gonna wrap it up here. Last time I was like, you know, it's like, what did they say? Like, you know, don't leave on a low. Don't always be saying goodbye. Just it's all those trippy graphics. That's why this thing keeps crashing. So anyway, I think that should do it. I will see you on the next one. Have a good night. Bye.